Drink beer, it's good for you.
Hello and welcome to the video. In this video I'll take you through the process of brewing this great summer beer, the Pineapple Mango IPA. Before I move through the steps behind this recipe, let us have a look at what you could expect from this beer. This beer is certainly a hybrid IPA and is designed as a thirst quencher. This is very tried and tested, so please do brew it with confidence. Because there is wheat, fruit and plenty of hops involved, this will be quite hazy naturally. There is a real fruity and juicy aspect to this beer along with lots of hoppy goodness. This particular brew will be done on the basis of it being raw, which means without a boil. This adds a fantastic texture and flavour to the beer, along with making it a nice fast brew. There are absolutely no hop additions at all during the brew side, so cleanup is also very fast and clean. I am also suggesting in the recipe that this is fermented with a very special yeast strain that is available worldwide that will provide a super fast fermentation, along with making it ready to drink as soon as you can get it carbonated. Brewing like this certainly ticks many boxes as you can see, so let's now move on through the steps. For the first step you will need to buy what you need for this brew. Here is an overview of the fermentables for this recipe. You can see that we are using 3 types of grain here and 2 types of fruit. The percentage you see is the amount that each one of these contributes to the fermentables for this recipe. I am sharing a 30 litre recipe within this video's description, which can be resized to suit what you are looking for. In addition to this, I am sharing this recipe as an internet link in this video's description for the free to use with some restrictions Brewfather app, which can be viewed on any device with a browser. This recipe also features the use of HopTea and dry hopping, which I will explain fully later. I am using a very popular combination of Centennial and Simcoe hops. A HopTea brings these flavours alive like nothing else can, and the dry hopping will give you great aroma. In my trialling of this recipe I found that this hop combination got the best feedback, but feel free to experiment with hop type and amount, though I would suggest you brew this as suggested the first time to understand the qualities and intentions behind the recipe. Once you understand this by tasting the original recipe, then let your imagination run wild for the future brews of course. For the fruit aspect of this recipe you will also need some muslin bags or hop socks to put your fruit into, so do not forget to get some of those along with your ingredients. Yeast wise, an easy one to recommend for this recipe is HotHead yeast by Omega. This is available pretty much worldwide. This is an isolate strain of fake that ferments very quickly, has beautiful fruit flavours and makes beer ready to drink as soon as you can carbonate it. One word of warning though, do not follow the Omega pitching rates. I will cover this fully later in this video, but it is something I want to emphasise early. Okay, let's now move on to the brewing steps. It is very arguable if this step is required. We are pasteurising this beer and that should be plenty good enough, but some raw brewers feel this is important. I have experience of not doing this and doing it, and I've never had an issue either way. The choice is yours. Once you have your mash water at the desired temperature, then add your grain gradually, giving it a really good stir as you go. Giving it a final stir and break up once all is in is also very good practice for the best results. Once that's all done, then you can start your mash process and follow this through for 1 hour. At the end of this, raise your temperature to mash out and let this run for 10 minutes. It is now time to raise your grain basket and sparge. The important thing here is to know how much dead space your system has. Add this amount to the amount you are brewing in volume out, and this will tell you how much volume you will need in your brewing system before you stop sparging. There are various ways of adding sparge water like I am doing here using a jug, or something quicker like a hose. Use cold water for sparging a raw brew, and use the water to wash through all of the grain as evenly as possible. As you can see here, my wort's temperature has dropped by 16 degrees C just by sparging with cold water. This is good because our next step is the cooling phase. The cooling phase will be nice and fast as you have already got a pretty good head start compared to a boiled beer. Also, if you use the HotHead yeast, then you can pitch and ferment this at a whopping 37 degrees C or almost 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Not worry if you cannot maintain this temperature. Unlike normal yeast, this one does not care about stability of temperature whatsoever. As long as you can maintain normal living room temperatures, then this yeast will work. With your wort chilled, you can now transfer it into your fermenter. I use this spray nozzle attachment from Brewtools to promote aeration in the wort during transfer, and I suggest you use a way of doing this also to give your yeast the best environment possible. To prepare your yeast, I suggest you pour it out of its packaging the day before and add it to a jar that is clean and sanitary. Put it in your fridge and this will draw all of the yeast to the bottom. Take a clean and sanitary spoon and for 25 to 30 litres of wort, take a shallow spoon worth from the bottom and pitch this amount of yeast. It could be good to do this during transfer. The reason this is advised is that Omega have made an error in the pitching rate, and even 25% of the yeast in this packet is an overpitch for a standard homebrew batch size. You have been warned. This is really no problem though, because for the same price as normal, you are getting 3 to 4 times more yeast. Keep hold of this and use it for more brews. I would suggest that you decant it though and replace the liquid with pre-boiled and cool water. So here is my fermenter, complete with blow-off because of the lack of headspace due to this 30 litre batch inside. Naturally, because 20% of your fermentables are fruit and this has not been used yet, you will find that with this yeast, this will go by very quickly. I pitched this yeast in the early afternoon, and by the later afternoon this was the scene. It was fermenting along merrily. An hour later, and things had really started to intensify, as you can see here. At this point, you need to wait until most of this first fermentation is over, ideally when you're within 5 points of final gravity. For me, this took around 24 hours. If you have a device like a tilt or a Plato, then this will make this part very easy. Other than that, just look for when things start to die down and take a gravity reading. You can then move on to the next step, which is ultimately adding your fruit. Before you can add your fruit, then you will need to clean up your wort by removing trub and bottom yeast. If you have a conical fermenter, then you can just use the dump valve to remove this until you hit beer, as you can see me doing here. If you have a regular type of fermenter, then you will need to siphon your beer into a different one. Failing to do this will result in the end beer having an unclean taste to it, especially when compared to one that has been transferred. Like Nike say, just do it. Let's now look at preparing your fruit. No matter how your fruit comes, be sure to freeze it for at least 24 hours. The reason for this is twofold. Firstly, this will kill most bacteria, and for me has never given me any issues in decades of making wine and beer with fruit. Secondly, the freezing will break down the enzymes readying the fruit for fermentation. This is absolutely key. Never listen to anyone who thinks it is best to pasteurize fruit in a pot on their stove. If they are not 90 years old, then they've been reading very old books, as this is a very old school technique that gives a lesser result. If you buy fruit already frozen or in a tin, then it will have been processed already. This is very useful because the professional process will not damage flavour, whereas the pot on your pan on your stove certainly will. Once you have frozen your fruit, then let it thaw before you add it to your fermenter, otherwise your wort could suffer a large temperature drop. Your fruit will be added to the muslin bags or hop socks. It is of vital importance that they are very clean and sanitary as part of this operation. Boil the bags before you use them for about 10 minutes, no matter if they are brand new or not. Then wash them off in cold water before adding them to a sanitizer like Star San. The container that you do this in can also be used during the process as a clean and sanitary zone. It is worth cleaning and sanitizing something like a plate also, to have a second clean and sanitary zone to cycle with. I would also recommend having a cup of Star San and a good hand soap during this so that you can keep your hands clean and sanitary whenever you are touching anything that will go into contact with your wort, but in the process you had to touch something that is not clean and sanitary. Take this part seriously and you will not have problems. Before you actually load the fruit, I would suggest that you rough the fruit with your hands to allow juice flow. Alternatively, you could actually put them onto your plate and rough them with a fork. Once this is done, you're ready to add these to your bags. And make sure that if there's any juice, you collect that actually in the bucket that you're putting your bags into. This juice should be poured directly into your fermenter when you add your bags. It is important that when you add your bags of fruit that they are totally submerged in the wort. What is not important is that they drop down. After adding your fruit, you will probably notice that this crazy kveik yeast starts visibly going to work again almost straight away. Here is an optional step, but something I like to use in wine and beer making to maximise my fruit's potential. This is simply called the press method. It is better known to winemakers than brewers, but it is a great technique. As the name suggests, you open your fermenter and put pressure on your fruit. This will certainly allow the fruit to release more juice and lost sugar, allowing the fruit to yield you more. Some winemakers do this technique every day for between 3 to 5 days, but you will not need to do this more than once, seeing as we are using kveik yeast. Naturally, you need to be very clean and sanitary about this, but it does give really nice results. I am using a brewing paddle here for pressing this fruit, but you can use anything that comes to mind that would be useful. Just avoid wood, as bacteria can certainly harbour within that. I actually perform this fruit pressing at the same time as adding my dry hops. Obviously you want to make sure that when you're adding dry hops you've still got something left to ferment, so this really assures that for you, so it's a good time to do it. In the same way that we created a clean and sanitary zone for our fruit bags, we need to do the same for our dry hopping. I find a plastic fermenter lid perfect for this. I have already cleaned this one and I'm now spraying it with Star San. I like to use these large tea strainers to dry hop with. They are of course cleaned and sanitized in the usual way, and it is important that when you load these up you never fill them more than half the way up, due to the fact that hop pellets will swell. Once these are loaded and closed, I carry them into the room on this tray-like lid to my fermenter and add them carefully, making sure they drop below the fruit. It is important to remember that when it comes to hops, we are purely interested in their oils. If you simply add them naked, then it will take them time to drop and the oils will sit on the top of your wort for longer, reducing their overall effect potential. Once your hops are in, I suggest that you reduce the temperature down to around 21 degrees C to allow the hops to have a clearer taste. Our HotHead kveik will not be bothered at all by this, it will just ferment a little slower, but all will be done way within the 3 to 5 day range anyway, so all is good. The day you intend to transfer this is the day to actually make your hop tea. I would suggest that you add the hops to a container and add pre-boiled water that is 80 degrees C when you add it. Add enough water to cover the hops at the very least, but I prefer to add a little more. You will find that much of this water will be absorbed by the hops anyway, and you are in the end adding a small amount that will have little bearing on your end alcohol content. Let this mixture of hop tea sit for some hours at room temperature to cool. Then, filtering the hop debris away, just collect the actual liquid. You can filter out this debris in various different ways. A popular choice is using coffee filters, or as I like to use these days, a bouncer filter attached to a siphon. This hop tea is best used by adding it to a keg or a bottling bucket. Simply add the hop tea at the bottom of the bottling bucket or the keg, and then transfer on top, and you'll get a nice even mix. In my case with this brew I have 30 litres of beer. I will add 19 litres of this to a keg, so I will just add just under 2/3 of this hop tea to my keg. The rest will be added to my conical fermenter from the top, but without splashing, and left for an hour or two before I bottle. This way will mean a little oxidization, so these bottles have potentially a shortened shelf life. Nothing we can really do about that, but out of this remaining 11 litres, much of it will go to other people, which I'm sure will be very fast to drink it. In using this method before, I've not actually had any problems. Having said that, I've never kept the beer for more than about 4 months. A beer this nice will never last long anyway. This now brings this video to a close. If you have any questions, then please let me know via YouTube or Facebook. I do hope that you found this video to be useful, interesting and enjoyable. If appropriate, then please like this video on YouTube, and if you've not done so already, then please subscribe. I regularly post new content. Happy brewing!